Welcome. Today, we journey into a tale from the heart of the village, where the red earth holds secrets and the Irako tree has seen generations rise and fall. This is not just a story of one family, but a lesson for every home. It is a tale of love and envy, of choices and their heavy price. Sit with me and listen well, for what you are about to hear will remind us all that jealousy is a fire, and those who carry are always the first to burn. Before we unravel on today's story, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching from. You're watching the IFY Creative Pen, your sweet storyteller. Let's dive into part 2 of Poisoned by My Own Mother. He set his mat by the foot of the bridge and arranged small bottles and paper-wrapped parcels. Chike's throat tightened. "That is him," he whispered. The officer approached with a polite greeting. "Good evening. We have questions." The man's smile did not move. "If it is about medicine, my prices are fair," he said. "If it is about trouble, I am only a trader." The officer kept his voice even. "A child is dead in Obi's compound. We have reason to believe someone bought harmful powder from you." The man's eyes flicked from the officer to Obi to Chike, then back to the river. He reached for his mat as if to fold it. Obi stepped forward. "If your hands are clean, help us wash the stain," he said. "If they are not, do not run. Running does not change where the road ends." The man hesitated, then sat again, slower. He pulled at the edge of his hat. "People buy many things," he murmured. "Most ask for good health. Some ask for bad." His fingers tapped the mat. "A woman came some weeks ago. She wanted something to make a boy less of a problem. I told her there is no medicine for jealousy that does not poison the one who swallows it." He swallowed. "She pressed money into my hand anyway. I refused. She returned with more. I gave her something I said would only sour the stomach enough to keep him from eating too much. A warning. I swear I said it was dangerous. I told her to throw it away." His voice dropped. "I do not know what she used." The officer wrote quickly. Obi's face did not change, but his shoulders lifted with a slow breath that sounded like grief sharpening into purpose. "Do you know her name?" the officer asked. "No," the man said, eyes down. "But she wore a wrapper with cowries on black, tied high, and she had a small scar beside her left elbow. She counted her money twice." Chike felt cold. He knew that wrapper. He knew that scar. A sharp honk behind him made the thin man start. He looked left and right like a trapped animal. The officer raised a palm. "Stay," he said. "You will come with us to give a statement." The man nodded, almost imperceptibly. As they turned to leave, a woman's voice cut through the river's whisper. Mama Ifeoma stood at the bridge's end, a wrapper tied over one shoulder. "There is more you should hear," she said, eyes on the thin man. "The paper I found in the ash at a corner, missing, the corner with a mark. I kept it." She reached into her blouse and drew out a small, smoke-stained triangle. On it, a faded stamp showed the trader's sign, a crooked line like a fishhook. The thin man closed his eyes. They walked back to the square under a sky that held its light a little longer than usual, as if the day, too, did not want to end until the truth stood in the open. People gathered again without being called. News travels along threads no one sees. The Ofo staff lay waiting. The Mwada brought Adanna from her father's house. She had washed her face and tightened her wrapper. Her steps were steady, but her lips had lost all color. Elder Madu took the small triangle of paper and set it beside the sachet. He looked at Adanna, then at the thin man, then at the circle of faces. Tired, angry, afraid, hopeful. "We are almost ready," he said. "But truth is not a calabash you break in one strike. It is opened slowly, so the pieces do not cut more than they must." He lifted the Ofo and held it out. The square became so quiet that even the leaves kept still. Adanna looked at the staff, then at the little paper, then at Chike. Something in her eyes softened and then hardened again, like someone stepping onto a narrow bridge and stepping back. Her fingers rose, hovered, trembled, and from beyond the square, hurried footsteps approached. Someone running breathless, calling Elder Madu's name. The crowd turned. The runner burst into view, eyes wide with a new piece of story that could shift everything. The runner stumbled into the square, chest heaving, dust clinging to his ankles. It was a village messenger, young Obinna, known for speed and loud voice. He bent low before Elder Madu, struggling to speak through gasps. Elder, forgive me, there is news from the police station. The officer who had come earlier stood immediately. What news? He asked sharply. Obinna lifted his hand. They sent word with me. Quickly, the powder taken from Obi's kitchen has been tested. It is confirmed poison, the kind used for killing pests. Strong, deadly. They said whoever put in food did, so with intention. A loud murmur rippled through the people. Adanna swayed slightly, her face pale. Elder Madu's voice cut through the noise. Quiet. Let us not forget. A child is gone. We will hear all things clearly. The thin man with the torn hat shifted nervously. The officer fixed him with a hard look. You will confirm here, before the elders, what you told us at the bridge. Who gave you money? Who asked for this powder? The man cleared his throat. His words came haltingly, but clear enough. It was the woman you call Adanna. She came to me twice. I told her it was dangerous. I told her not to use it. But she insisted. She pressed more coins into my hand than I had seen in weeks. I should have refused. My greed has now followed me here. His eyes dropped to ground. The villagers gasped. Some covered their mouths. Others shook their heads. Mama and Kem hissed loudly. So it is true. She killed with her own hands. Adanna's knees buckled. She dropped to the earth with a cry that shook even those who had hated her ways. I did not mean for Ifeoma to eat it, she screamed, clutching her chest. I only wanted Chike gone. He took everything from my daughter, my husband's love, the people's praise. Every day I saw him, and I burned inside. I wanted my child to stand above him, not beneath his shadow. I never thought fate would turn against me. Her voice broke into sobs. Obi's face hardened like carved stone. He stood, tall and trembling with fury. You wanted my son dead, he said slowly, each word heavy. The child of the woman I loved first. The child who never raised his voice against you. And now, your own daughter is gone because of your wickedness. You carried fire into this house, Adanna, and it has burned you first. The Umwada began to wail in unison, a cry of both sorrow and judgment. Women beat their chests, chanting, Chi Naimka Imi, God sees and God repays. Elder Madu raised the Ofo staff high. Adanna, you have spoken with your own mouth. You sought another's blood, and the gods have turned it upon you. By our custom, such evil cannot remain in the compound of Obi. You will be taken from here. The law will take you also. But know this. No amount of prison or punishment equals what your heart will carry for the rest of your days. The memory of your daughter struck down by your own hand. Adanna collapsed fully, weeping, clawing at the dust. Emeka, her brother, tried to rush forward but was held back by strong arms. His voice cracked as he shouted, Sister, sister! But his words dissolved in the noise of the crowd. Chike stood frozen, watching everything. His heart felt torn. Ifeoma's laughter echoed in his memory. He remembered how she once shared roasted corn with him under the mango tree, giggling when the kernels popped. She had been innocent, caught in the crossfire of hate she never asked for. Tears stung his eyes, but he did not move closer to Adanna. Instead, he turned to his father. What will happen to her now? Obi placed a hand on his son's shoulder, heavy, trembling. The elders will decide. The police will carry her. But for us, we will carry scars. The officer nodded to his partner. They stepped forward, lifting Adanna to her feet. She did not resist. Her eyes were empty, her sobs now silent. They led her away, past the crowd, past the tree, toward the waiting motorcycle that would take her to the station. Villagers parted, some cursing, some pitying, none smiling. Elder Madu struck the earth 3 times with the Ofo. Let this day be remembered, he declared, that envy brings nothing but ruin, that when a mother's heart is twisted, her children cannot find shelter. May this story be told so no one walks this path again. As the crowd began to disperse, Obi and Chike remained at the foot of the Irako, silent, broken. The sun was setting, staining the sky a deep red. like blood spilled across the heavens. Chike whispered to himself, Ifeoma, forgive me, and the wind carried his words as though delivering them to the land of spirits. But deep inside, he wondered if this was truly the end, or if Adanna's curse, her bitterness, her shame, would continue to haunt their lives long after her footsteps had left the village. The following weeks in the village were heavy. Ifeoma's burial was carried out with sorrow and restraint. The elders insisted she deserved a proper farewell, for her spirit was innocent of her mother's sin. Women sang soft dirges, and children scattered petals along the path as her small body was lowered into the earth. Obi stood with Chike beside him, their faces hollow with grief. Even those who had once envied Obi's wealth wept that day, for nothing cuts deeper than a child's grave. Adanna remained in the police station awaiting trial. The officer said she would be charged for attempted murder, and though her own child had died, the law could not overlook her intent to kill Chike. She sat in her cell, silent most days, speaking only to herself. Sometimes she whispered Ifeoma's name until her voice cracked. News of her madness spread back to the village, and some said her punishment had already begun long before any judge would speak. Meanwhile, Obi struggled to restore peace to his home. Nights were longest for him. He heard Chike turning in bed, restless, haunted by memories of Ifeoma. At times, Obi would call softly, "My son, sleep," but both of them knew sleep had become a stranger. The compound felt emptier, the laughter of children gone. Yet Obi reminded himself of the words his father once told him. When the roof falls, you rebuild. You do not sleep under the open sky forever. So he began again. He taught Chike to farm with more care, guiding his hands not only with tools, but with patience. He involved him in meetings, praised him openly before the elders, and made sure no child is felt invisible again. Slowly, Chike's face softened, and the heaviness in his eyes began to fade. Still, the memory of Ifeoma lived in him. Whenever he harvested yams, he placed one at the corner of the field, whispering her name, as if feeding her spirit. The village also carried the lesson forward. Mothers told their children of Adanna's deed whenever envy sprouted in their hearts. Do not let jealousy eat you, they warned. It will leave you with ashes. The Umwada reminded young brides during marriage gatherings. Love the children you meet in your new home as you would love your own. If your hands sow hate, they will harvest sorrow. When Adanna's case finally went before the court, she confessed fully, her voice flat, her eyes dry. She asked for no mercy, saying only, I live each day with the face of my daughter in my dreams. That is enough punishment. The judge sentenced her to years in prison, but even the officers agreed. Her true prison was inside her heart. Back in the village, life moved on. Obi aged, but with dignity. Chike grew into a man respected for his honesty and resilience. When he married, he named his first daughter Ifeoma, so that the girl's memory would never be lost. That child grew up bright and kind, a living reminder that from tragedy can still come light. Moral lesson: the story of Adanna spread beyond the village, told by elders under moonlight and by parents to restless children. And each time, it ended with the same lesson. Jealousy is a fire that burns a hand that holds it. A heart that plots evil against another prepares sorrow for itself. In a home where love is divided, children suffer first. But when truth is honored and patience guides us, even broken families can heal. So the tale was kept, not to shame Adanna forever, but to remind every ear that heard it. Envy destroys, but love preserves.